Low.
Howdy folks, it's Adriel the Hunting Gear Guy. I wanted to show you guys this SKS KD Deluxe from Kodiak Defense. This is an SKS that's been modified to take AK mags rather than the fixed hinged magazine that the SKS takes. So now we've got a detachable mag system on here. Now the other things that have been modified on this rifle, we've got an optics rail along the top here instead of our iron sights, which are typically situated right about here. We've got an ATI Strikeforce stock on it that's foldable, so we've got a little bit of flexibility with our stock system now. And we've also got a threaded muzzle, so now we can put on those CZ858 and that kind of thing, muzzle brakes on the end of this thing. So a very modified SKS. This is not for the purists out there. This is for the people who want a tricked out SKS. So let's get a little bit closer to this thing and take a look. Before we dive deeper, let's just function check and make sure that we're not playing with any ammo. There's no ammo there. And it's confirmed my chamber is empty as well. So we're playing with a empty rifle here, which is a good thing. On the rear stock here, we've got these tiny little Allen head key bolts here. That allows us to move this cheek rest up and down. So that's one adjustment. The other adjustment that we have here is right here. That's going to allow us to telescope the stock in and out. And we've got from rest, we've got, oh, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's just make sure I did that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5 position telescopic stock at the back. Now, one of the complaints about the original SKS stock is it's quite short. The length of pull is very short on it. It's fine if you're running a winter jacket or if you're really short, but if you're like me and I'm 6'1", the standard SKS stock is a little bit short for me. Some more adjustments that are on this stock, let me just pile it over to the side here, is that it's got a folding mechanism on there. So it's a very simple one. We're just pushing down on this button here. And that's letting us, sorry, it's just a little bit hard to grab onto. That lets us fold it over. It does lock in place, and then you just have to push that button to flip it back. It's pretty solid. It's got a pretty solid lockup, especially when it's open, so it's decent in that aspect. On the rear here, there is a very, very thin slice of rubber. It's not going to pad anything, but it will stop anything from sliding around. Also on the rear here, we've got this QD sling swivel, and that's available on both sides. And then kind of towards the middle here, we also have a sling stud that's available right at the back here. So if you're running a single point, that would be kind of like your center of gravity spot to grab onto at the middle. So that wouldn't be a bad spot to hook onto. Now towards the middle here, we got a couple of standard SKS things. We got a standard safety here. This one happens to click, you know, it really depends on the SKS whether or not they're gonna have that spring in there to click or they're just gonna be using resistance. This one clicks. We've got our mag release right there, so that's gonna let us throw our mags in and out. And we've on the top here, this is where it gets a little bit different. We've got a rail here instead of our dust cover. So you can see here that it's got this bolt that goes through on the rear of it. And then right up at the front here, it's got a pin that's actually drifted through the rear sight. So check out my review on this rear rail if you want to know more about that. But for this rifle, it offers a nice big sight plane on here. So if you wanted to run a red dot, which I'd really recommend on an SKS, is a red dot instead of optics, you've got lots of spots to mount on here, right? You could run it a little bit lower, more to the rear, so you get more to see through the red dot, or you could run it more towards the front so that you're kind of pointing the red dot and the dot inside of it at whatever you're trying to shoot. So got a little bit of flexibility there. You could also run one, like a flip over magnifier or whatever else you wanted to on this top rail, just because you've got so much room. You can run a scope on here, and it feels fine, but just in terms of what an SKS is capable of, I really prefer a red dot on it. The bolt carrier and bolt have been re-blued, and that's just a process of getting this rifle ready to handle SKS mags. On the bottom of this, we've got this kind of front area. This is actually built out for the standard SKS fixed magazine or the duckbill mags, but you can use these AK mags in them. It just doesn't make any use of this space up at the front here because it doesn't really need it, right? Up towards the front, we've got some more Picatinny rail system. These are removable, so if you don't want a whole bunch of rail on the front, these can be removed. We've got our sling swivel again on the side here, a big chunk of Picatinny rail on the bottom, so if you wanted to run a bipod or a grip pod or whatever, lots of availability for that. I would say these side pieces here, if you're going to run a flashlight, a laser, or whatever, that's your place to go crazy there. Other side, same deal. We've got our sling stud there. We've got another section of Picatinny rail. And instead of the wooden forend on top, we've got a plastic one, so it kind of matches the rest of the rifle. We don't have like a wood one up there. Now right up front here, we've got a threaded muzzle, and this will take the VZ58 style muzzle brakes. So you can run a brake on there if you want to. I don't think you really need to on an SKS, and I think it would be preferable to run it without a brake, but it's nice to have the option because some guys out there want the recoil reduction so they can, run their guns fast. Now, just because I know that some of you guys will want to see it, you might be wondering whether the bipod will clear like a big banana mag on this thing, and it will, no problem. This is a Fab Defense G2 bipod, and it's actually comfortable enough to fire off prone fairly easy. A little bit tall here because I've got to use my thumb on the rear of the stock, but works just fine. Let me see if I can go down one. Oh, I can even go down 2. There we go. Or 3. Yeah, I can even go down 3. So there, I've just got it on just a couple of clicks there. I've still got a lot of room, and now I don't have to stretch as much on my rear here. So lots of room, and this Fab Defense G2 bipod works on Picatinny rail, and it's pretty quick and easy to use. So it's kind of handy to use on something like this, right? Very quick to deploy and stow as well. So again, that was the SKS KD Deluxe. This is one of the rifles that Kodiak Defense is offering. They sell it through retailers across Canada. And it goes for right around $750, somewhere around there. So it's still inexpensive compared to a CZ858 or a VZ58. And it's still inexpensive compared to some of the other rifles that take 7.62x39, like the Type 81. So we've got a little bit more of an inexpensive package. We've got a couple of things that help with ergonomics on it in terms of a buttstock that moves in and out, a cheek rest that can move up and down, an optics rail that's nice and solid on the top here, and a little bit of Picatinny rail up front in case you want to run a bipod or a vert grip or an AFG or something like that. So there's been quite a bit of adjustments to this thing to make it a little bit more usable than the stock SKS. We can throw on, again, those muzzle brakes or flash hiders on the front if you would like, and most important of all, we can now take these removable mags that are standard right out there, right? Like AK mags are pretty standard, and there is some selection out there for them. So you don't have to be stuck with these big banana mags if you want to. There are some shorter ones out there. And they're not that expensive when you consider, some of the other mag costs out there. So it's an interesting combination for a rifle, and for some of the people out there who are into getting like a tricked out SKS, you might want to consider the SKS KD Deluxe. Thanks for watching.